Hey, good afternoon. We appreciate you guys logging in for our State of the Schools presentation. This is always something we enjoy doing, and it's a good event. I really enjoy the live feedback at the very end. We'll have some question and answers there. If you have any, just submit them through the document Ms. Thomas has ready for you. We'll go from there. So we appreciate all that you guys do, appreciate your support, and thank you for logging in to our State of the Schools. We will go right into it. First off, I do want to say we're working through a new setup here in the boardroom. So Mr. Conyers is working his magic behind the screens. I hope y'all see a little different format. It's really good. I encourage you to watch our board meetings. They're much easier to watch now in terms of being able to hear and being able to see everything. So huge shout out, Ms. Thomas, Mr. Conyers, everybody for making this happen. And hopefully today you'll see the new format. And again, we appreciate y'all logging in. So what we're going to cover, just a few things. We always start with the strategic plan. Obviously, the strategic plan is what should guide us as a district. I'm going to give you some points on where we're at in terms of meeting or not meeting objectives. I'll hit a couple of code of conduct revisions, and we'll talk about some good things that have happened with facilities and our finances, and then we'll get into some online enrollment questions and answers, and finally, the part that I do enjoy the most, being able to answer your questions and input, and so we'll go from there. All right, so first thing with our strategic plan, like I said a minute ago, our strategic plan should be what guides everything. Hopefully you see our district-wide strategic plan, and then you see our schools tying in their continual improvement plans to our overall theme as a district. I do think this has gotten much better since our time here. I know this is something we harp a lot on, and again, it's measurable progress that we keep a close eye on. So the 5 areas here are academic advancement, safe and healthy learning environment, quality personnel, fiscal responsibility, and stakeholder relations. So first, we'll look at some key measures with our academic achievement. Guys, this past year, we had an 87 overall with our report card. That's the second highest it's ever been. We seem to be on pretty good track right now with our data. Everything is pointing to another great year. It's a huge testament to our teachers, our staff, central office, principals, administrators, parents, students, all working together to achieve our academic goals. But we have some very specific goals that we try to hit with our academic achievement with our strategic plan. The first bullet point here says increase total academic achievement for all students from 63.73% to 75% by the school year 27-28 school year. We're on track to meet that. In 21-22, that data was 63%. This past year, it was 71%. So again, a gain of right at 8 points over the last few years. And again, we're right on track where we need to be to incrementally increase our score by the 27-28. So we're on track there. Increase total academic achievement for students with disabilities from 27.32% to 51% by 27-28 school year. Guys, this is an area of improvement we got to keep looking at. We're going to make some changes with special education, some other things coming up next year in terms of training and looking at how we're doing things. But it is growing. I mean, we have grown from 27% to 32.5%, but it's not growing at the pace that we would like it to. So we got to keep diving in and really help our students with disabilities be able to close that achievement gap. And that's going to be an area that we keep focusing on because, again, we're not where we need to be right now on that. Maintain total academic growth for all students at 96% or higher by 27-28. Again, we are right where we need to be there. We generally hover between 96 and 98, 99%. This past year, we were 96.58, so we're right there where we need to be. Increase the graduation rate from 87.26 to 90% by the 27-28. Again, we're on track there. In 2021, we were 87%. This past year, we're 89%. Again, making that slow and steady progress, getting where we need to be by 27-28. The college and career readiness rate, the goal is to go from 72.42% to 90% by 27-28. We're on track there as well. Our college career ready rate in 21-22 was 72%. Right, this past year was right at 85%. So again, we're making substantial progress. We're closing those gaps, and our report card reflected that. In the area of safe and healthy learning environment, we have 3 bullets here that we're trying to track. It says reduce the number of disciplinary infractions that result in alternative placements out of school. These are things like out-of-school suspension, long-term alternative school expulsion from 4% to 2% through implementation of multi-tiered support systems. We're exceeding expectations there in terms of those specific areas. Now, our behavior infractions did go up this past year, quite frankly, because of the Focus Act. That has seen a huge spike in terms of our discipline progressions because we're trying to meet the requirements of the law. Now, I'm going to get into some adjustments we're going to make to that next year, but our more severe behaviors, we are where we need to be. We are seeing those decrease some. I think the changes we made in terms of progressive discipline have helped. I also think, quite frankly, like on the secondary side, if they're in that third major infraction, well, the principal can recommend expulsion or virtual school, and that's really helped as well because people know that, hey, we're going to work with you on the first infraction, but we're going to start tightening it down. And we're seeing less and less repeat offenses, which is what you want with behavior modification. We want students in the building, but we also want them to act right. So I feel good there, but the overall number, again, has increased because our cell phone infractions did dramatically increase this past year. Decreased chronic absenteeism from 22% to 12%. Guys, we knocked that out of the park last year. We were already at 10% last year. We're right there on that 10, 11% projection again this year. We're actually under where we hope to be in 27, 28. So huge shout out to our parents and students and our staff members for highlighting the importance. I'm not doing my job if I don't say this as well. Part of the academic improvement is because kids are in school more. And, we appreciate you guys helping us with that. Increase the belief that Talk County schools are safe, secure, and well-maintained by 2% annually by utilizing staff and parent surveys. I don't have the exact data here because these are surveys we sent out at the end of the year, but according to last year's numbers, we're currently meeting expectations, so we're where we need to be on that. Quality personnel. The measurable objectives in this area reduce professional resignations from 10% to 6% by the 27-28. Again, we're right on track. We're right on track where we need to be there. This past year, we were at 6.7% resignation, so we were right where we need to be. Implement professional learning activities focused on teacher mentoring to increase novice teacher retention from 20% to 15%. Again, we're exceeding expectations here. We've implemented a mentor program that is overseen by a retired educator, and that's been a really good program. Our teachers have really done a good job working with each other. This past year, last school year, we kept 78% of the new teachers. So again, we're moving where we need to go there. It's really good progress there. Increase district-wide professional learning teacher hours by 10% in year 1 and 5% annually after that. Again, we're currently meeting expectations there. We've been very focused on how we are trying to build in PD time with our teachers and our bus drivers and support staff. Professional development is one of those things you can never do too much of. We need to keep pushing on that, but again, we're making gains there. Fiscal responsibility. Ensure annual budgeting processes are conducted in a timely manner to include a collaborative staff analysis, so forth. So again, we're good there. We're doing everything we need to do there. We're exceeding our expectations. We just went through our audit. Had no issues there. That information should become public very soon. So that second bullet, reduce unmodified opinion audit findings annually. We're exceeding expectations. Maintain 1.5 month operating expense in the board education reserve. We are vastly exceeding expectations there. I believe we have right at 6 months operating reserve. We're doing a really good job. Ms. Wallace and her staff do a really good job of keeping us all fiscally sound. Stakeholder relations, the measurable objective in this area, institute stakeholder preferred communication channels and methods with multilingual and ADA compliant channels and increase distribution of district news by 4 to 5% annually across all channels. We're exceeding expectations. You've seen us really focus on Parent Square. You've seen us trying to get everybody on that platform. You've seen us do a lot of things there that we're trying to make sure everybody understands what's going on in our district. Some of you got a message a minute ago. There was some rumors floating around that we were on lockdown at our Marbury Pine Level schools, and we had to clarify some of that. So these communication channels have really helped us immediately get the information to you guys, and we appreciate y'all signing up and letting us get that information to you. Again, the second bullet ties into that, establish community access to key ACBOE groups, including board members, senior staff, through development of district calendar, and increase stakeholder participation in calendar events by an average of 5% annually. Again, this ties in our communication methods, letting you guys know what's going on. We're meeting expectations there. Finally, monitor a 2% annual increase in stakeholder perception that the district's using resources and support systems to ensure a quality education by utilizing student, staff, and parent surveys. Again, our surveys come out at the end of the year based on last year's responses. We're meeting expectations there. We are where we need to be in terms of the 5-year strategic plan. All right, so I know that was a lot of information there. To kind of summarize it, guys, basically the strategic plan should be what guides what you're doing. And there should be measurable data there that you look at and go, hey, we're meeting this, we're exceeding this, we're not where we need to be here. To sum it all up academically, and our report card shows this, academically we're very strong. We're where we want to be to an extent, but obviously we want to get it even better. In the world of special education, we are not where we need to be in terms of the academic achievement of our students. Again, you're going to see some changes next year in how we're implementing some stuff there, but that's what the strategic plan is for. That's what transparency is. Are we where we need to be? And if we're not, let's say it. If we are, let's keep chugging on. If we're exceeding expectations, well, heck, let's keep going, because that means we're doing something really well. So as a leader of the district, look, there's always things that you want to change or do better or improve, but again, the guiding principles of the strategic plan points that we're in very good shape in terms of academic and fiscal management and hiring and keeping good people. So I'm going to move on now to the Code of Conduct revisions. We made a lot of changes last year. If you saw the Code of Conduct, we put in charts for section C, D, and E that clearly laid out to parents what the consequence would be for the infraction. We are doing that for Class B infractions next year. So that'll be something I hope parents see and maybe resolve some issues or conflict there or misunderstanding. So I'm very excited about that. We didn't change a ton with bus discipline this year because honestly the changes we made last year have had a very positive effect of what we've seen in terms of bus discipline. So we did make a couple of changes to give administrators a little more flexibility, but overall bus discipline will not be changed a whole lot. The third bullet there, the cell phone policy, the current policy was largely successful across the district. And by that I mean this, okay? When the Focus Act was put in place, we all had concerns. We all had reservations about it. I think we all thought it would be good to try to remove the distractions from the environment as much as possible, but we all had concerns. Guys, to credit to parents and students and our administrators and staff and everybody, this really hasn't been that big of a deal for us in terms of issues. Now, from feedback from staff and feedback from parents, the only adjustment we're going to make there is on the first infraction for secondary next year. Right now it says 3 days ISS. We're going to reduce that to 1 day ISS and adjust the progression accordingly. But again, that's trying to make sure we're meeting what the law needs, but also trying to find a middle ground there that enforces the policy, but also meets what we got to do legally. So you'll see that adjustment. There may still be some other changes with the Code of Conduct. You will see a kindergarten through second grade discipline band in the handbook next year. That's something that's never been in there. I'm a little. I don't want to say torn, but we're still looking at that ban because how do we help the behaviors improve and clean up the issues that the teachers are facing in the classroom, but also give the kids what they need. We're working on a lot of different options there. So the version that's in there right now, it does have a band, it does have discipline. Will it stay that way? We're working through it, but it will have a band and it will have clear expectations before the start of school year. We also added the pre-K handbook. This is something, guys, pre-K has always had discipline. It's always had discipline rules. But we felt like pre-K is part of the school system as well, so let's have that in the Code of Conduct. So literally the stuff in the pre-K handbook is, for the most part, the way it's always been. We just put it in one document for all parents. All right, facility improvements. This is something I'm very excited about. Guys, if we put all the things in the last 2.5 years in this portion of the presentation, we would be here a long time. We are maximizing the funds that we have. I need everybody to understand that for the most part, the money that we are spending on the facility improvements comes from a sub-pot of money from the state that you don't know if you're going to get every year. We made some changes with our federal program allotment for money, and we've been able to take care of a lot of our technology needs through that. We're also, since we're using that money for technology, has freed up this other pot of money for facility improvements. So we've been targeting our facilities and trying to fix them as much as possible. We've spent a lot. We've spent $9.3 million across the district from our advanced technology funds and remaining bond proceeds. So what that means is we've taken the pot of money from the state. We've also had some leftover bond money that we needed to spend, and we've targeted seriously as many projects we possibly could. On the screen, you'll see a few of them. The Prattville High School field house. We have some erosion issues at Prattville Elementary School, Marbury High School, Billingsley's agri-science facility. I highly encourage you to go out there and look at that. It's going to be awesome. We renovated Prattville Intermediate's Media Center. Pine Level Elementary water fountains. What that means is we put some water fountains throughout the playground area because that area is very wide open, and it's a big space. We've done all kinds of things at Ava and Second Chance. If you don't know, the old kindergarten building, we now call it the multi-purpose building. We've had to outfit some of it to accommodate our virtual school, and that's where we've moved Second Chance. It's been a game changer for us in terms of Second Chance because now kids have a little more space. It's been a good thing, so I'm really, really proud of all that. But again, it takes money. We are in the process of moving all technology out of the old kindergarten. If you don't know, our technology department for the whole district used to be in the building across from the Doster Center. It's where my grandfather taught ag many, many years. We have moved the technology department to our old Second Chance, which has been great because now they have offices where they can do PD. We are hosting all kinds of trainings for our employees, and it's been a really, really good deal from a security standpoint and also from operations. We've spray foamed a lot of our gyms and other areas, like it says on here, Prattville High School and Marbury High School baseball facilities, but we also spray foamed the gyms at Prattville Elementary School and I believe the intermediate school as well. And we have plans in place to get it done at the primary school and others. I mean, we're targeting things that need to be done. We did some cleanup at the transportation department with rock and gravel installation. We had a major issue out at Marbury High School softball area. We fixed that. We put in Billingsley's new cross-country track. And again, there's been all kinds of flooring, painting, roofing, fencing, security cameras, you name it. We've done a lot with that money. We are maximizing the funds to fix as many things as possible. The scary part is we have these funds for one more year, and we're being told from the legislature, hey, after next year, that pot of money may dry up. One reason that we've been able to build our general fund so much is we are literally using everything but our general fund. We are trying to create that operational flexibility so when bad times come economically, we're prepared. So that's that. I feel very good where we're at. Again, I believe we have about 6 months operating expense. We are doing a really good job, but we're using a lot of the money for what it's intended for, and we're fixing a lot of things. I mean, I'm very proud of what we've done. Huge shout out to our maintenance department, because what's not on here, guys, our maintenance department has done all kinds of things. I was out at Marbury Middle the other day. They're fixing the office, putting in a whole new wall, fixing all kinds of things. Our maintenance department is great, and they have done a lot that, quite frankly, probably in other areas, they probably pay people an exorbitant amount of money to come in from out of contract areas to come in and do that. So our maintenance department is great, and we're very blessed to have them. All right, just a few pictures real quick. I went to high school at Prattville High School. I remember what the field house looked like then. These pictures don't do it justice. Really good job here. The contractor was great to work with. I encourage you to go check it out. It's something our kids deserve, and we're working on this on all areas. But again, Prattville High School field house, great deal there. We were able, if you remember the picture on the left, there used to be a trailer there. That was the training room. On the picture on the right, We included a new training room with restrooms for with restrooms for baseball when you're watching games, and again, it really has changed the whole look of the place. These pictures, this is changing daily, man. It's a really cool deal. Our agri-science building, Mr. Strock has done just an absolute tremendous job with FFA at Billingsley. Basically, this will allow our kids to have animals on campus. They will be able to raise them. They will be able to take them to show competitions. This project, a huge shout out to Representative Smith and Senator Chambliss and Representative Lawrence and Representative Starnes for helping us with this as well. This is catching fire across Central Alabama. I've gotten numerous calls from other superintendents. They're looking to do the same thing in their districts. So very proud of this, very proud of Mr. Strock and all the great things going on at Billingsley, and this is going to be a really cool deal. These are just 4 pictures of, honestly, probably $2 million worth of flooring. We have replaced flooring since I've came into the district. We are replacing flooring left and right. Different schools, we're systematically working through all that. I hope you see most of our schools have new flooring. There's a couple we still got to get to. We got to make some decisions there, but again, we're changing the look of the place in a hurry. Marbury High School and Prattville Elementary, the picture on the left really does not do that picture justice. That is an issue that's been out there since the school was built. We had to change all kinds of stuff out there. Behind the building here, there was an area of that was collapsing in, and that was a major project. I'm very glad to finally get that squared away. The picture on the right is the elementary school. This don't do it justice either. Rain used to come down and wash out this whole area. We've really overhauled all that. We've changed the drainage. It looks a lot better. The Media Center at Prattville Intermediate School, I'm seeing this picture and it jarred my brain. You also saw Prattville Junior High had their Media Center redid. Again, it's changed the look of the place. It looks really good, and our people and kids deserve it. Again, guys, that's just a sampling. There are so many projects that we've done that we did not include. There's a lot of construction going on. There's a lot of things coming, and I'll get to some of that in a minute. I'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll go ahead and mention that. We're working on another project that we've said a few times. I've said it publicly a couple times. We're using some funds to try to target female athletic venues. So you'll see, hopefully that's going to go out for bid very soon. We keep saying that because, guys, that's the hardest thing that I've learned in this job is what you think should be happening the next day. The red tape and the things that you got to go through, sometimes it puts a delay. We ran into some issues. We had to move sites on some of the buildings. That delayed it. That delayed us getting it to the DCM. So it has been approved there. We're hoping it goes out for bid. I think Mr. Camara told me, I want to say May 21st, somewhere around in there. If the bids come in right, then we proceed. So looking forward to that. All right, financial update. I'm not going to spend as much time here. I will hit a few things here. The highlights, I think it's important to explain to people how we're funded. Our current budget totals about $110 million. Guys, I've said this 100 times. If we could spend the money how we needed to, this is a little different conversation. But what people don't understand is when we get the money, it's pretty much earmarked. If they say, here's $1 million and you got to spend it for X, that is what it is. We have to spend it for whatever X is. So that part of the presentation where it says it's 76% earmarked, that means that a majority of the funding, we have to spend it the way we are told to spend it. So our overall pie there, we receive about 3/4 of our money from the state. The funds include sales tax appropriations not related to local tax funding. For the most part, the state dollars you get is a wash. Think of it as that's what basically staffs our schools, okay? The local dollars, this is sales tax, community grants, ad valorem, helping tax. That's about 1/4 of our budget. And then we don't really have a ton of federal dollars. On the screen, it shows it at 1%. Again, these include CMP, grants, local school funds, which, again, lost my train of thought there. All right, on the pie chart, here's the same information that we were just looking at. Just again, a couple quick things. State funds pay for employee salaries and benefits. That's what that first bullet's telling you. Again, just think of your state funds as a wash. If you earn $100 million, it's pretty much going to your personnel. On our deal, again, 70, 75. There it is, 71 million. It's a wash. So that goes for our employee positions for the most part. Federal funds are used to fund employee salaries and benefits in some areas like title. It also includes things like homeless funds, CMP, things of that nature. Local funds cover all remaining expenses. You know, a couple years ago when we were doing the tax referendum, I went around and showed everybody, you know, using dollar bills, what that means. But basically, if it's not covered in these, it falls in your local funds. A lot of our local funds, we have to cover the state match foundation program, so that eats up a lot of our dollars. But again, we're, you know, two years ago, I stood in front of you and said, hey, we got some issues. We've made a lot of decisions on structure and accountability, and we're in better shape than what we were, no doubt. All right, so I'm very proud of this schedule that you're about to see. We have paid off several bonds since I've been here. We're waiting on final confirmation. We may wind up paying off 2 more bonds next year with some of the funds that we're getting from the state. They changed something in the legislature this past year to give us that flexibility. But guys, our long-term debt right now is 41 million, or right at 42 million. Most of that is the new kindergarten. But guys, we paid off 7 million last year, and quite frankly, I don't know the exact number, but we've paid off numerous bonds, and we've been able to really set up the district to be much more financially secure moving forward. So real proud of that slide. All right. As we're closing out the year, now we're moving into online enrollment. Just real quick, you know, we did move this to a central location. You know, that was to help make sure that the same process across the district. That department is located at the old kindergarten. It's the building to the far left. That address is 338 First Street. That's our centralized registration department. We've changed a little bit of the online formats with the forms and all. Our families are telling us it's much easier to navigate, so you'll be getting some information very soon about next year's paperwork and going ahead and getting returning student registration done. But again, you know, we're working through that. Now, we may bring some revisions on our residency documents to give us a little more flexibility. There's been some extenuating circumstances that the way the policy is written right now really puts us in a bind. So at the next board meeting, you'll probably see some recommendations to our board on still holding the line of making sure we don't have fraud and make sure we don't have people in our schools that do not live here, but also having the flexibility to work with families to get them enrolled. So that's been an ongoing process. Again, we hope to have some ideas next board meeting. In-district enrollment policy, again, we created this a couple years ago. Glad we did, because I think we're ahead of the curve on this. I do think this is something you're going to see statewide. You know, you see a lot of the Choose Act stuff and things of that nature. But our policy is 5.56. It allows families living in Autauga County to choose the best school environment for the children. Now, it basically replaces the way we used to do hardships. But there is a policy there, and this is some of the questions I get from parents. They think, well, hey, I applied, I should be able to go. Well, the policy stipulates that there's attendance requirements and discipline requirements. So, you know, and there has to be staffing requirements for the schools. I have some schools like Daniel Pratt, you know, they are exploding, and they may not have enough room in a certain grade level to accept very many more in-district transfers, or like the Marbury Pine Level area. Again, that area is booming as well. So there's things there. We have the mechanism in place. I encourage you, if you want to transfer, the portal opens back up for the second round on June the 1st, and it closes June the 12th. But just know, again, there's a policy there that governs us. At the end of the day, it's the principal's decision on whether or not they accept the application. Again, they have to look at a lot of different factors. But again, some of that is spelled out in board policy with attendance and discipline regulations. I also want to say this. The athletic eligibility is affected. To be eligible at a school, you have to reside in that zone. I know Governor Ivey signed the Choose Act stuff and all. I'm a former coach. It is my opinion that act does not change the HSA's policy. I think that's going to wind up back in court as well. We have to enforce the policy as it is, and again, the HSA states that for you to be eligible, you have to live in that area. So if you go from, say, I don't know, Marbury to Prattville, then your child is only going to be able to play JV sports for that first year, and then they're eligible for varsity after that. So just be mindful of that. I know there's been some questions with the legislation coming from the governor and all, but there's that one I'll be interested to see how it actually plays out in court, and I guess that's the best way I can say that. Out-of-district policy. Guys, we really haven't had many people do this. This is something, again, that Dr. Mackey recommended. Again, I believe we are ahead of the curve. And I'll tell you this, we're probably going to try to use the CHOOSE Act to our advantage in this area. We're working through that process now. I don't know if we've been approved yet or not, but again, there's a way that we can use the CHOOSE Act to our benefit in this area. But the current dollar amount is $1,500 that families have to pay if they say they live in Chilton County and want to come here. They have to pay that fee, and the reason the fee is that amount is the equivalent of the tax cost to our families, and that stuff's really regulated by legislation, and the fee is also to be fair to our taxpayers who do live here and pay tax to send their kids here. We do not keep that money at the central office. It goes to the school. Again, this is a way that we try to help our general fund at the school level, and just encourage our families. If you're looking at Talk County schools, there's the portal, and it remains open at all times. So you are free to apply at any point during the year. Again, I will say this again. Athletic eligibility can be affected. It is our opinion, and it is the HSA's opinion. I'll use that example I just said. If you live in Thorsby and you want to go to Billingsley, you're ineligible. Now, again, this is one of the most intriguing cases moving forward. That's one reason why the private schools now opted out, or they have their own section in the HSA. So it will not affect them per se because they don't necessarily have attendance zones now. But how does that legislation affect public school transfers when they're using the CHOOSE Act policy? To me, that'll probably wind up in court, again, above our head. We have to enforce the rules that we are given. So it's our opinion and the stance of the HSA in that world right now. Again, to be eligible for varsity or championship play, you have to live in that area. So stay tuned on that one. I'm glad to say that one don't have anything to do with us. We're just following policy and procedure on it. But we encourage everybody, if you're out of district, want to come to Ottawa County Schools, there's a methodology for that. All right, returning student registration. Guys, that's a fancy way of saying, all the forms at the beginning of the year that you have to fill out. Parents, we've overhauled that again. We're going to use what's called School Mint. We're going to send out that information soon. It's already, let me pause there. Ms. Thomas, is it already live now? Or?
For new students.
Yeah, for new students, they're using it. The feedback we have from new families is it's very easy to navigate, much easier than the previous portal. So again, we feel like we're making right gains there. We would really appreciate if our returning families could get the registration finished by June the 30th. Again, in the old days, so to speak, we collected forms for 2 weeks in the beginning of the school year. We still are going to do that. We're going to, hey, we need the information. We cannot update your parent information in Power School with accurate information until you give us that information. So we need that returning student information as quickly as possible. So I'm sorry, Ms. Thomas, you had something there? Okay. So make sure we get that in, please. We're going to say June 30th. We know we're going to be tracking it down, honestly, for several weeks into the school year. So we just need that information once we get it out. Okay. Well, okay. That's enough of me talking, I guess. We're now to stakeholder feedback and questions. Ms. Thomas, I guess we'll let you tell me what came in, and we'll do the best we can to answer them.
Yes, so we had 16 questions submitted this year, so some of them are a little bit of a duplicate, so I'm going to do my best to consolidate in one ask.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll get started. So given that smaller schools are achieving higher participation rates in the arts, what are we currently doing differently? What changes can be realistically made, such as facilities, outreach, or program variety, to make Prattville's Fine Arts program more accessible and appealing?
Oh, Ms. Conyers telling you something. Can you hear it now? Okay, so if I got all that, I think the question is, the person believes fine arts are not growing in Prattville, but they are in Billingsley and Marbury. Is that
Correct.
the gist of it? Okay, so I will attack that from a district level first. I do believe the fine arts are just like athletics. You have to start students young, and you got to light that fire early. That's one thing we did this past year. We created academic supplements and fine arts supplements, quite frankly, that run through most of the grade levels. So the question was about Prattville, so I'm going to address Prattville. So like Prattville Elementary, Ms. Wood does a great job with the arts program. That's something they started. They do all kinds of really cool things. When they moved to Prattville Intermediate School, Dr. Addison and Mr. Dyson, who's awesome, he does a great job. He used to be the theater director at Prattville. He is now at Prattville Intermediate, and he has started a theater program there. So I think part of it is getting that fire lit at an earlier age. But I think part of it too is adapting with times and changes, and I think we have to be mindful that, it's just my opinion, kids are pulled a lot of different directions, and I'll use I'm an old coach, so I'm going to use a coaching analogy. Like in the coaching world, we encourage kids to play multiple sports. That's how we try to keep them involved. That's a question I would ask, because I don't know the answer. I'm just trying to answer it live here. I would be curious to know, are we doing that with our fine arts? Are we encouraging kids to do other things as much as possible? I think if you're starting to make kids specialize in something, whether it's a fine art or athletic, I think over time you're gonna lose some enrollment there. So I don't know if I answered the question or not, to be honest with you, but we've got to do a better job of getting the fire lit at the elementary level. And again, I hope with the supplements and the encouragement that we've done on that end, you're going to see a growth there.
And I will remind our audience, these are live, so if we don't answer your question in the way that it was intended, you can always email us. That email address is info@acboe.net. So we're doing our best to interpret on the fly and answer as much as we can.
I do want to say, if I remember right, the question also asked about facilities.
Let's see, such as facilities, outreach, or program variety.
Yeah, so, facilities are important too. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, I'm sure, but, like Prattville, I do think they have probably the largest and very well built band room, but there's challenges there as well. The biggest thing too is when the need comes to my office, I need to try to meet it. That's one thing I'm very proud to say. Over the last 2 years, at the end of the year, I sent out stuff to the band directors. Hey, we have some excess, fill in the blank, federal money or this or that. I can use that money for the fine arts. I take a lot of pride in this. I have met whatever they have asked for the most part. So, you see, we started the program at Billingsley because there was a lot of kids that wanted to do that. I've got to do a good job of supporting what comes in, not necessarily saying give everything that's requested because there's only so much you can do, but they got to also let us know what they need, and we got to work together to give the kids what they need.
Absolutely. All right. Second question, can you initiate disciplinary action against students for bullying as they continue to bully because they know there will be no consequences?
Can you initiate, say that one more time, I'm sorry.
Can you initiate disciplinary actions against students for bullying?
Bullying, okay. Yeah, so part of bullying that makes it tricky is you have the state guidance on what it is, okay? Bullying in the code has to be repetitive. So that's why we encourage families to, fill out the bullying form. Now, I will tell you, I see discipline come across my desk that is coded bullying, and discipline is handed out. The biggest, I don't want to say misconception, but the misunderstanding sometimes is what is bullying, what is it not. But we got to know that it's occurring to start putting in the things in place that we need to put in. So just remember, from the state side, bullying is repetitive. I would encourage anybody to turn it in, create the document trail. Administration, when there's a bullying form, they have to fill out the paperwork on what they did, how was it handled, and just keep us in the loop in there. And if there's something not being addressed, I'm very accessible. I take a lot of pride in that. I try to answer every email. Most of the county has my phone number, so I do follow up on anything that comes to me, so.
Well, and let's remind families too that we can never share what's being done
Correct.
in discipline to another student.
Yeah, so if, I'll use an example. Let's say it's not bullying, but it is like talking mean, okay, to somebody. Well, obviously it depends on what was said, but if it's a Class A infraction, then there's a 4-step process there that involves Class A. So we can't tell a parent, well, they got whatever. That's a FERPA violation. You just document it, you report it, and then the school has to follow the protocol where that infraction leads.
And if that behavior is still happening, do that process all
Yes,
over
just
again.
let
Yes.
us know. Just stay in communication with the administration. Some things that you'll see there a lot of times, if we're not, sure, or if we just think it's best practice. I did this all the time as a principal. I would put in no contact orders between parties. That, to me, that's one of the best things that we can do, because maybe it's not bullying, but obviously there's an issue here. So we're going to bring in both kids, both families. Hey, I don't want you even saying hey to each other. You go here, you go there, and if there's communication there, well, now you're breaking what we agreed upon. So I think the biggest thing there is dialogue and letting us know if there's an issue.
Yes. All right, moving on. What can be done to ensure employees are not discussing students in front of other students?
Yeah, let us know. First off, let the principal know. There's guidelines and regulations there, and there's a standard that I expect with our employees. And if that's occurring, let the school administration know, and you can let me know, and I'll follow up with the school administration. But yeah.
Absolutely. And this question was asked in a few different ways, so I'll do my best to summarize. But in short, is the district considering school uniforms for schools? There appears to be some rumor mill out there that's saying we're going that direction. So address some of that.
Yeah, I don't have any intention of doing it. I do see both sides of it. I know some districts around us do it. Some, I know private schools, charter schools have uniforms as well. We're not there yet, in my opinion. Now, that's something that I would encourage feedback. Let us, if you have some thoughts there, let us know. But you get into some other things with, if I'm requiring you to dress a certain way, then and I don't know the answer because I've never had uniforms, but my question would be, is there a financial obligation on our part to fund that? And I don't mean to be ugly, but guys, we have so many needs in this district. If it's going to cost $1 million to put everybody in uniforms, I'd rather put the $1 million in the classroom, $1 million in facilities, $1 million in the programs. Now we've cleaned up a lot of the inconsistency with dress code. I'll be honest with you, dress code has not really came up this year compared to the last couple of years. I think we're getting better there, but that's one of them issues that you're never going to get 100% of everybody on board with dress code, because a lot of it is interpretation, which is why we removed a lot of the interpretation language from the code of conduct. Now, again, it has been much better this year. I've literally not dealt with dress code a whole lot. So that's a great question. It's funny. My kids came home the other day and asked me that. Dad, are we having dress code? Are we having uniforms tomorrow? I was like, nah, I don't know where that's coming from. But no, again, I'm not against it, but there's just a lot of unknown questions there that I don't have the answer to. So moving into next year, no, there's no plans.
So y'all have heard it here first. No uniform consideration at this point
At
for
this
next
point,
year.
yeah.
So
Now,
if you
again,
haven't-
I take a lot of pride in trying to meet the needs of the families, and if that's something that, is brewing, then, you never know. We may put out a survey next year and get feedback and go from there. But right now, it's not on my agenda.
Okay. All right, this one is lengthy, so
Uh-oh.
bear with me.
Okay.
So this person is seeking clarification on the system's standard, or the district's standards for its school-sanctioned club oversight. On what procedural basis is the administration bypassing standard dispute remedies, which include internal dialogue, clarification, mediation, in favor of advising law enforcement engagement?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really know what all that means.
There's more, so.
All right, so I will take it, the part that I did follow. Well, okay, no, here we go. We'll go two different routes. You have school clubs that, like SGA, Mu Alpha Theta, things like that. Usually, or there's no usually to it, there's guidelines from the head org that filter down to others. Now, part of that is it's a student-led organization. So most of the time, the bylaws, things of that nature, are written at the student level, sponsor level, and you may see some variance of how, I don't know, I'm trying to think of one. Mu Alpha Theta may operate at Billingsley, Marbury, Prattville. It may be a little different, but a lot of the guiding principles are going to be the same. Now, the question, I heard law enforcement there, so I'm going to say this. You know, if that question is more about booster clubs is a weird thing in Alabama, okay? We, contrary to what people believe, we fully support our booster clubs. We appreciate them. I wish that there was a world where I didn't have to say anything to a booster club because it is an outside organization that's helping our kids. But then there's this thing called state law and the auditors that have questions. If there's financial issues in a booster club, we are legally responsible for making sure that information gets to law enforcement. So I don't know if that was a question. That's why, you know, I remember as a principal and as a head coach, the questions would always come in. Why do we got to have all this stuff to you guys with our internal audit and all this other stuff? Well, we have to turn that in to the auditor who's looking at our stuff. So because they're representing the school, this is what we're told, because they're representing the school, then some oversight comes from us. Then we can be held responsible if we're not turning in things that pop up. So it's just anyway, I hope that answered. But the school level clubs, you know, your schools are going to have guidelines on how to start clubs. That's a base school decision in terms of what that process looks like. I know at Marbury, I always said, hey, any new club needs to be into me by the second week of the school year. It was something I put in my handbook. The only rationale there was, hey, I just need to know what clubs so I can set the sponsors, define it if there had to be a sponsor. Let me rephrase that. There has to be a sponsor for a club. That's sometimes what keeps clubs from popping up, is you have to have a sponsor. But again, that the rules that operate within that organization 9 times out of 10 are either set by the governing organization or by the students and the faculty member that are there. Once a dispute pops up within that, my answer and this principal's answer should be the same thing. What do your bylaws say? And then we have to enforce what the bylaws are. So that's...
Yeah, I interpret this as almost we're jumping to law enforcement engagement versus handling things internally.
Well, I'm going to say this, and, you know, I mean, again, I know we're live. How I operate is if it's something that might even remotely need to go to law enforcement, I'm going to pick up the phone and call them. I'm not, I mean, I think all our partners would tell you. We're going to, yeah, so on that end, the thought process is because, again, we have a responsibility according to the state government to oversee some of that. Again, I don't necessarily like it, but it's just, you know, if a booster club is going rogue and misappropriating funds, then I am legally responsible for fixing all that. And now I will say we did put in a lot of guidelines last year. That may be what the question's
Well, I
from.
was going to say
that may be it.
The second part of that is given a lack of formal written policy to address this stuff. So I think the new booster club guidelines.
Right. Now, that's something we had some booster issues. I don't remember the exact year. It's all blurring together. But there's some things that came up in our audit that we needed to fix. And we mandated out operational procedures. You're going to have X amount of officers. This is a sample agenda. This is how things should roll, because we needed to make sure that we felt good about how they were operating. Again, it falls on us. So maybe that's what it was about too.
Again,
good question.
We're interpreting live. So if we misinterpret this or don't answer it fully, email us and we'll be happy to answer that. The next one is, does District 5 need representation now that a Toggeville school is closed?
Does District 5 need representation now that the Toggeville? Yeah, absolutely. You know, look, guys, that was one of the hardest things we've ever had to do. And, you know, but I would think, based on my conversations with a lot of the families, it's worked very, very well this year with students going to Prattville and Billingsley. But it's still an area that we have kids that live in. So absolutely. They need a representative, and I would encourage you, anything that pops up in that area, contact your board member and always contact me. Again, I take a lot of pride in trying to get back with people. And look, I'm human. Sometimes I miss things, but for the most part, I take a lot of pride in I'm going to try to get back with people when they have a concern.
All right, let's see. It takes zero effort to follow a crowd, even a crowd that's heading off a cliff. But it takes a lot of backbone to stand up and say that something isn't true or isn't right. A student without a moral compass and the fortitude to stand up and represent it isn't much use to their community or society. How do you, as the leader of the school system, ensure that every adult in the system is modeling that kind of straight shooting honesty and accountability we hope to see from our own developing children?
That's a great question. You know, one of the hard parts of this job is, or any job, I'll say is the same thing as a principal and same things as a coach when I coached. You know, I do believe it starts with me, starts with whoever's at the top in that in that organizational chart. So I believe it said, how do I model, tell me one more time.
How do we ensure our employees are modeling that straight
Well,
shooting?
first, it's got to start with me. People's got to know that, you know, I'm not going to put up with certain things or tolerate certain things, but also support and do everything I can. I would hope people see that. You know, I take a lot of pride in being as transparent as possible and being accessible as possible. So to answer the question, it starts with me, and then I have to hold people accountable on my end if they're not doing what we expect. So I hope I'm answering that the right way. I'm sorry,
Well, and you have 3 guiding principles as a superintendent.
yeah, no, we talked a lot about it. You know, we you know, when I first came in, trying to figure out how to sum it all up. I mean, you know, I tell our people we're going to treat people right, we're going to serve others, we're going to do our job. And those are non-negotiable. And look, there's good days and bad days. There's things, you know, that I handle a certain way sometimes that you go, man, I don't know, I should have done it a little differently. But again, I hope that when things pop up or occur, you know, that people know I'm going to do everything I can to fix it and address it. And, you know, the reality is, you know, we got about 1,100 employees, and there's a lot of moving parts, but it starts with me. I've got to model the behavior that I expect, and you know, I hope people see that. I can assure you I'm doing all I can to improve our district, and you know, the good thing about our technology in here is it's great. The bad thing is I didn't realize I was going as bald as I am until the other night at the board meeting. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, this job's tough and it's wearing on me, but you know, it is what it is. We got to fix some things in this district. We got to give our kids what they need. And again, to answer the question, you know, I do believe, not to sound cliche, but it does. It starts with me, and you know, there's good days and bad days, but it starts with me.
Well, and you can't be everywhere all the time. So this sounds like it probably is a specific situation. So we encourage families to follow chain of command. You know,
Yeah,
talk to that
yeah.
person, talk to that person's supervisor. If you don't get help, escalate it at some point
Right.
to you.
That's valid. Yep.
Yes. All right, next question. Are you ready for this one?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a good one. It got me thinking.
Is there an update on the talk of a city-county split? Is the city
I mean, you
pursuing?
went from that to that. I mean, I'll tell you, it's
asked
live,
if you were
man.
ready.
I don't see it. I'm up here. I'm just rolling with it. So what was the question? One more time. Sorry.
Okay, is there an update on the talk of a city-county split? Is the city pursuing a city school system?
Okay. No, I'll answer it the way I did the other day at another meeting. Look, you know, it's public information. I went to the county commission. I went to the city council. You know, I will dig my heels in and say, guys, we have done a lot with our day-to-day operations. We are in really good shape financially, day-to-day operations. We've done a lot. We've done some things, quite frankly, that people told me we couldn't do. You know, you'll never do that in Tall County. Well, you know, hey, we've done a lot. Mm-hmm. That being said, you know, the thing that I cannot solve is the facility issues, because even though we're paying off bond debt, it's a great question. I'm not trying to rattle, but it's important people understand this. The way we get funding for bonds, you have to pledge your sales tax or any extra ad valorem. We don't have any extra ad valorem. It all gets tied up in the state match that we have to get our state dollars for. So to get the $70 million from the state, we have to give X amount of dollars in the match. So all that being said, you know, we don't qualify for a lot of money for bonds. And with the way construction is right now, and I'll challenge anybody, build a house, you're going to see that it's about double what it was 5 years ago. Schools are no different.
They may even be worse.
Oh, the school stuff is ridiculous. I mean, the bid that we're putting out here in a minute with the Title IX facilities and the female athletic facilities, if you build that at your house, I mean, you're talking about a $500,000 project, but with all the regulations and all, you're looking at $1.52 million. That's just that's just the fact of what we deal with. The question was about the city and county split. I will say this, 2.5 years, really good relationship with Mayor Gillespie and Mayor Bigley and everybody, the city council, the county commission, everybody. I mean, we do. Now, got a great relationship. 2 years ago, I think everybody in the room, including the Board of Education, I think we all knew we had to do better working together. I think we all have gotten a lot better moving forward. Again, I take a lot of pride in I know and they know the only way we're going to move forward is working together. To answer the question, the city is, they're looking at their revenue is what they should. I mean, this is a monumental decision, and I respect what Councilman Newman said. I mean, at the meeting, you can watch the meeting. He asked point blank do we want to go into a county funding agreement or do we need to look at a city system? I didn't disagree with the question because they have to make the decision. Are they in the county model or are they moving forward out of a different one? So I think they're all gathering the information they need to be able to make the best decision. But the win, and this is where I was headed, I didn't mean to ramble. The win is 2 years ago, last year, I don't know if all three entities agreed that, hey, it is all our collective effort to work together to help education, So the win in this right now is the city council's looking at how they can help, the county commission's looking at how they can help, the Board of Education's looking at how can we be a better partner. That was not necessarily what I walked into. And that's a credit to everybody, that's a positive. Now, what are they going to do? Ultimately, that's their call. They've got to look at their finances and decide if that's something that they want to do or can do. I don't have any update on it. I'm talking daily with all the entities. My focus is this, and I've said this publicly and I'll keep saying it. We cannot continue with the same model. The money is not there to fix the things in Prattville and in Marbury that you have to fix. The money, we don't qualify for the bonds to fix what we have to fix. It's a millage problem. It's a sales tax problem. People think it's a money problem. It's not. It's what we have to put up to get the bond to get the money. So, again, to answer it, I will give the city council and Mayor Gillespie a lot of credit. They're being very thorough, and I appreciate that. They're looking at things. They're trying to make the best decision for them and for the kids in Prattville, and we'll sort it out. If they go that route, then we'll have those conversations. If they do a funding agreement, then we'll have those conversations. If they can't do anything, then we'll have those conversations. But again, to answer it, the positive is at least we're having these conversations, and we're finally working together with the county commission, the city of Prattville, and the Board of Education. We're all trying to pull in the same direction of the non-negotiable is you cannot continue the way that we are. Now, what is the end result? Great question. But at least we all agree that something's got to change. And I take a lot of pride in that. I mean, I appreciate them, and that's a good question. Is that the last one? No.
No, the next two are
I'm
similar.
kidding.
We're going to call them
kidding.
A and B.
I'm kidding.
So this question was basically an update of where do we stand on the new Prattville High School, if that's a possibility. What about
Okay.
the Marbury solution out there?
Yeah, it's a great question. All right, so, the questions pertaining to the original proposal I had was I asked the county commission, City of Prattville, and us to all enter a funding agreement to build a new high school on CAC's campus. The city council was doing a road study to see the feasibility of that. They're working through that. They're also looking at the financial obligation of that. Again, I went at this worst case scenario with the numbers. Again, all this is public. Basically, it's going to cost about $9 million a year to build that school. And we've asked between 5 and 6 with the city and a portion from the county, and we'll put up a portion. Again, that's worst case scenario. What I would hope is if that agreement happens, I can then take the pledge and be able to secure federal and state grants, because right now that's what's killing me is at the grant level, they want to see a partnership at the local level, and I'm kind of just in limbo trying to push it. So that's where we're at on that. I think the bigger question that they're trying to answer is, hey, if we're going to do a funding agreement, do we go ahead and do our own system. And again, I don't know the answer to all that. That's something that city council has to look at. But again, I will say the positive of no matter what is at least we're having conversations on how to improve funding for our kids and our faculty. The Marbury Pine Level question there, you know, my reality as the Board of Education is, you know, we only qualify right now, and I said this in that meeting, we qualify for one more bond of $30 million. A $30 million bond is going to build maybe a Marbury Middle. A new junior high at Prattville is 50 to 60 million. These are the numbers from the architects. We just don't qualify for a lot. It's not that we can't make the payment. It's we don't have the collateral, so to speak, for the bond. It's just the system. It's what we have. So the Marbury Pine Level question, you know, I've been very clear, and this is why this conversation is so important. I've been very clear with the county commission and the city of Prattville and my board members who are my bosses. I've been very clear to everybody in that room, you know, you have two major problems facility-wise. You can solve one if the model stays the same. That's fact. That's why I'm asking for a funding agreement, because they will take out the loan. We will write a check for our portion. That frees up some capital. That's why we're at where we're at. So the update is, look, we're all still working through that, but we got to start making some decisions soon, you know, to get a long-term plan for sure.
All right, last question. I promise I'll change the topic.
No, you're good. This is good.
This question is similar, but goes into more detail. So if we decide, or if city-county thing happens, what is the outlook for the rest of the outlying school district if Prattville splits off into its own? How will the school district make sure services, amenities, staff, and education delivered stays at a high standard if we split from the city?
So is the question, what is the outcome?
Like,
for the
what does
county?
it look like for Autauga County if Prattville
Yeah,
splits
all right,
out?
so I'm chuckling because it's just all coming full circle. So the first thing I tried to do was change state law to change our entire educational system to what's called a hybrid model. We found this in Georgia, and I believe it's South Carolina. I ran into some roadblocks with the law, but part of that study was we would have taken in East Prattville, which is Elmore. We would have been able to secure the revenue from there, and it would have been a county-city hybrid model. In the process of that, I had them do a study on, because my job is I've got to be prepared for any scenario. You know, you're looking at the same data. What would this look like if the city did split off? Again, the whole point of that is I'm taking in the city. So if I'm gathering this data as the leader of the district, I need to have a plan in case they saw the data and went, well, we can break off and do our own. I needed to have those answers. The study, this is where things have changed in the county. 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, it was a absolute no because you didn't have the growth out there. That area is growing. So long story short, according to Criterion, that's the company that did the study, it would be basically a break even. It would be okay. You know, now is it ideal? No, I would have some challenges, but it's not the insurmountable challenge that it once was, because again, there's a lot of people moving to the Billingsley and Pine Level, Marbury areas. So that's the dynamic that's changed over the years. Now, I'm going to be very clear. I'm going to say this, and I'm sure this will get a sound bite. You know, I am not pushing for either one. What I'm pushing for is, guys, we have to do something. We have to do something. The growth in the Pine Level area is coming, whether you like it or not. The buildings in Prattville, a lot of them are 100 years old. These issues are here. How are we going to fix it? So, you know, I think I said this the other day. I'm glad the relationships are so much better between the Board of Education, the City of Prattville, and the County Commission. I think this is where adults have got to have adult conversations, and we got to get to the bottom of it. We can't lose sight of the fact of what do we do to give our kids and their staff the financial backing that they have to have. That's what I'm pushing. Again, I've asked for a funding agreement. We'll see where it goes. If it don't, okay, well, I'm going to keep on chugging on. I mean, I hope people see that by now. I'm not going to just take no for an answer. We're going to keep looking for ways, because that's the job. I've got to figure out how to get our kids and our staff what they need.
All right, changing gears. You ready?
I'm glad. Yeah, that's good. It's changed.
Can our district do what Elmore County is doing for driver's ed? They offer it during the summer for kids that want to do it and may not be able to fit it in their schedule during the school year. Not all kids want to do it, but some do.
That's
So
a good question.
credit advancement type.
Okay, so one thing, I need to get back and check at Prattville and others. I thought we were doing some of that. Obviously, we may not be, but I will tell you, our virtual school is about to hire a driver's ed position. That is some of the thought process is we can do that. I believe Elmore runs it through their virtual school. I'm pretty sure they do. That's some of our thought process. So obviously it won't be this year, but that's one thing that we're looking at. So that's a good question there. That's good.
All right, I have jumped around to make sure I could group questions, so let me see. Can you please talk to employees about being rude to parents? This question obviously mentioned somebody specific. We won't do that, but again, that goes back to your 3 principles of
Yeah.
do your job well.
I would
treat
just
others.
encourage if that occurs, follow the chain of command, reach out to the principal, let them know if you're not satisfied with that answer, reach out to me. Oftentimes, because I'm pulled 100 different directions, I'll ask Ms. McNider to look into elementary stuff or Dr. Marsh to look into secondary because they supervise those campuses. But, yeah, I mean, look, there's a professional standard there that we expect, and we're going to look into it if it comes up. Now, people are people. We all make mistakes, but just so whatever that is, I would just encourage them to let the school know and work from there.
You addressed this a little bit in the presentation, but let's make sure we answered it fully. I've heard about a facility for female athletes. Is something in the works? Obviously, yes. If so, can you give us more details, plans, timelines?
Yeah, so what we're doing there, I was AD at Prattville. I was the principal at Marbury, coached baseball at Marbury. I knew coming in that there's some things that we need to do. The field house at Prattville serves both males and females, okay? But there are a lot of sports at all of our campuses where females need an area to change and to practice. And, like cheer right now, I believe they go all the way down to the old kindergarten. That's got to get fixed. So the plan right now is there should be a bid going out very soon with, and I may get some of this wrong. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I believe it's to to add some we're calling it a multi-purpose facility. They'll have some turf at the 3 high schools. The problem I'm going to run into is what does that bid amount come into? Because I only have, I want to say it's like $5 million or somewhere around. I don't remember the exact number, but we only have so much funds left. So this may be a 2-year process of hit the biggest need and chip away at it. I got to see what the bid comes in from the bid. So if it comes in the way we expect it, we'll be able to target several things. If it comes in really, really high, then it may turn into a 2-year deal. But again, the process has started. We're going to fix some of that.
Awesome. All right, this is in reference to House Bill 380 that the legislature recently passed, which allows for the consolidation of county school systems. With the new constitutional amendment on the ballot regarding county consolidation, have you been in talks with neighboring communities? If any merger strategy is considered, how will you guarantee that our local community doesn't lose its identity or that our children wouldn't face 90-minute bus rides to a centralized mega school?
Yeah, I can tell you our enrollment's fine. We're not going to consolidate. Now, the spirit of that law, I'm very familiar with it. The spirit of the law was to help some of your very small county populations. Like there are some county systems with seriously 600 kids in it, maybe even like up to like 1,200. So the idea was, could you combine some of those smaller ones to help out? I don't really think it was intended for us to merge with, say, I don't know, Elmore or Chilton or anything like that. We're all, like the question says, we all take a lot of pride in what we have and what we can do. So I don't see that being there. I do think it's a good thing for some of your smaller systems that are struggling because, again, enrollment drives so much. Enrollment drives everything that you get from the state. So, if you have a low enrollment, you're going to have problems operationally. So.
Last question.
All right.
Are we closing early today because of bad weather? Several others have already announced changes to their schedule.
All right. No, that's good. Great question. So let me explain the process there. I don't claim to be an expert on anything, so I'm going to rely on the experts that we have. And our local EMA is top notch, man. They're great guys and great ladies. They do a great job for us. So Mr. Camara and Mr. Messick met with EMA yesterday to get an idea about today and saw the projections. We met again with them at 10 o'clock today. Based on everything that we have, there's no reason to let out early. My decision when I let out early usually is going to be about buses. Okay, I've lived it at Marbury when the tornado came through. Okay, I've been on that side where you're trying to scramble to, in that case, it probably helped that we were in school. It probably saved a lot of lives. But what you don't want to be is in transit when bad weather hits because, y'all know. So to answer the question, we're going to let out at normal time today. Now, I did cancel extracurricular activities because they're projecting the weather to be in our area around 5 o'clock. I know some neighboring districts let out, but you got to remember, too, they're a little more north. And then what oftentimes drives some of my decisions, I'll just be honest with you, is the Billingsley, Marbury middle area. Their weather is a little different sometimes with projections than the heart of Prattville, and it never fails. You can ask the EMA guys, you can ask Mayor Gillespie and everybody that's always in there with me. It never fails. It's never easy for us. It's always the line. Usually, if it's going to snow, it's like, hey, Clanton's going to get 4 inches and Marbury's going to get half an inch and Prattville's going to be sunshine. But the district, the way the routes run, even if you're in Prattville schools, you may live out past Bass Pro. I'm not Bass Pro. Big Bass or that area. That's Prattville. So, that's what always puts you into a dilemma. So, guys, we take the weather stuff very serious. I try not to cancel school because I understand it impacts families with work and everything else. In this case, based on all the information I have right now, there's no reason to dismiss early. I know some schools, systems north of us are, but you got to remember they have very rural bus routes as well. And if the weather's going to hit them at 3:30, but it's going to hit us at 5, well, that's the hour and a half window that, you know what I'm saying. So, but that's why we canceled after school. That's a good question. That person probably waited. They didn't want to hear anything else. All that other stuff, they just want to know why are we in school?
Yes, so that's all of our questions, but
Okay.
I will tell our viewers and anybody who watches this in the on-demand playback, you can always ask questions. We're painfully transparent, I think you would put. That is info@acboe.net is that email address, or, our emails are first name dot last names at the same acboe.net. So I'll pitch it to you, Woodfin, to finish up and thank them for watching.
Appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys that may watch it later. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to serve you. It's this is home, and I appreciate what you guys mean to us, and thank you for supporting our kids and supporting our faculty and staff. And the questions are always good. I never know what's coming, but it's really good to have that feedback, and I appreciate what you guys do for our system. So with that being said, I guess, Ms. Thomas, is that a wrap? So stay tuned. We have a board meeting next Tuesday night, and then we have another one, I believe, May 22nd, and then that'll close out the school year. So huge congratulations to all our graduating seniors and their families, and it's been a good year, really good year, and we just got to end on a good note, a high note. So I appreciate all you do, and reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.